GlobeChain is the largest and fastest growing ESG reuse marketplace that helps companies become more sustainable, save money, and achieve their ESG and SDG targets. GlobeChain connects companies from the construction, retail, hospitality, and office sectors with nonprofits, small businesses, and people to redistribute unneeded items, reducing waste from going to landfill. From fixtures and fittings going to thrift stores and being upcycled by fashion students, to construction material being reused to help build schools, items are requested super quickly and help generate impact to local communities. So far, GlobeChain has diverted over 58 million kilograms of items from landfill, and they've helped over 50 million people across the world, saving them 350 million pounds through reuse. Check them out at globechain.com. Many of us are well familiar with the massive amounts of single-use plastic that are littering the environment. But plastic has practically an infinite number of useful applications. So can we have our proverbial plastic cake and eat it too? This was the question Devana Ng and her husband asked themselves while hiking in the hills of Hong Kong and cleaning up litter. And it's the question that eventually led them to start the Invisible Company, an organization that has created an alternative to single-use plastic bags. In this episode, Devana and I discuss their Invisible bag, a bag that feels like it's made from plastic, but the material is completely biodegradable. Now, their customers can use the Invisible bag to protect their products while being environmentally friendly at the same time. Check out this episode for a fascinating take on what the future of plastic looks like. Hey, Devana, thanks so much for joining us on the Sustainability Champions podcast. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Daniel. This is my pleasure.
So I'd love to start by going big picture, and then we'll go a little more detailed. So what is the elevator pitch for the Invisible Company?
Cool. So Invisible Company is actually founded in early 2020, and we are based in Hong Kong. We found the company in Hong Kong. So together with me, we have my co-founder Flavien, who is also my husband together. So we are currently doing a water-soluble, compostable, and landfill biodegradable packaging, which is called Invisible Bag. So it doesn't contain the conventional plastic, which are PP, PE, PS, PVC, such plastic. And we are doing all the tests to make sure that after the bag is dissolved or biodegrade, is non-toxic to the environment, not harmful to the animals as well. So we are currently providing these alternative packaging to different brands, such as the fashion brands, logistic, e-commerce, to replace the conventional plastic bags. So the story behind this Invisible Company actually began in 2018, 4 years ago. We are nature lovers. We are hikers, especially in Hong Kong. We have a lot of beautiful mountains, but unfortunately, we found a lot of trash. You will see wet tissue, papers, plastic packaging. So we started to picking them up. We clean up the trails as much as we can whenever we hike, until one day we had a thought like, oh, what could we do to protect the beauty in the nature, and what could we do more? So we started to do some research, and we think of, yeah, we need to go with a packaging that we could provide to the brands and manufacturers to reduce at the waste at source. So we found this material, which is water-soluble material, and we said, okay, let's bring this alternative solution to the brands. And so we designed Invisible Bag in early 2020.
Very cool. And so what exactly is water soluble? What does that mean for a material?
Okay. Interesting thing is a lot of people like you and me came across to this material many times in your daily lives. This material is called polyvinyl alcohol, which is a water soluble and biodegradable material. And Invisible Bag is not only made with this, but also with starch, glycerin, and water. So what is polyvinyl alcohol? Actually, it was found 100 years ago by two German scientists. And so you'll wonder, oh, it has been such a long time. It actually has been commercialized back to 1960 by a Japanese company. It has been used in the medical industry. such as our medicine capsules. It's also used for the stitches during your surgery. Unfortunately, if people has to engage with surgery. It's also used in eye drops, laundry capsule, dishwasher tablet, even on our LED screen and more. So until we found this material, it has been industrialized for many different applications. Why not we should commercialize it and also promote this material in terms of the packaging? So at the beginning, we launched a transparent garment bag, which is on hand, more for packaging the garment industry. It's blurred. And also afterward, we have been coming up with like different products like a mailer bag or pool bag. So that's a quick caption about this material.
Very cool. And so water soluble basically means that if it touches water, it starts to dissolve?
Yes. So I would say, to make it more a live scenario to explain, it's like sugar with coffee. Okay. So you have a cube of sugar. If you have a small espresso, it would take a little bit longer time to dissolve. But when you have a big glass of coffee, like a black coffee, then it will be faster to dissolve. So it dissolves fast or slow. It also depends on the water capacity. Mm-hmm. And the second thing is like the sugar will also dissolve in a lower temperature, but it's just taking longer time. So the hotter it is, the faster it will be dissolved. So we recommend people or the users to dissolve the packaging. The ideal temperature will be above 80 degrees Celsius.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's pretty hot. But if you don't have access to 80 degrees Celsius, or going to your store, you were taking a walk on the trails in the mountains of Hong Kong, and what happens if one of invisible bags ends up, just sitting on the side of a trail and no one sees it and no one touches it?
Of course, as you said, the ideal scenario is people really dispose of it correctly. But if it's unfortunately it end up in nature or somewhere that wouldn't have 80 degrees Celsius of water, the most important thing for biodegradation is actually microorganism. Mm-hmm. So if you leave the bag just on your table as a storage, it wouldn't dissolve, it wouldn't biodegrade. So there's two elements which are very important, which is the water and microorganism together. So if it's end up in the nature, definitely there will be water, maybe rains or in the soil. And then after with the microorganism to eaten up the material, it will be biodegradable. So we have done a test, which is simulate the landfill situation, which is anaerobic condition. Mm-hmm. Within 90 days, there is over 85% of the material will be biodegradable.
Wow, that's incredible. And how long, if there was a regular plastic bag, how long sitting in landfill, how long would it take before it?
So actually a lot of things will degrade at sometimes, but plastic, it also depends on what kind of materials, also depend on what's the size. It could take decades and decades. Wow. So if you compare with the decades of a plastic will be biodegradable eventually in the landfill, with our material talking about in 3 months, over 85%, yes, this is a significant a change and also difference.
And what is so it degrades, and I thought I heard you say that it's not harmful to the environment. So what's left behind? I mean, when I think of sugar and coffee, to use your analogy, I think, well, it's just an organic material or compound. So really no problems there, but this is basically a type of plastic or similar to plastic. So what's left behind once it degrades or biodegrades? So
there is one thing that people concern a lot, and we can make sure that after it degrades, there is no more microplastic, because it will completely eaten up by the microorganism. And also it will go back to the nature, and it is like the cycle. So when we communicate with our customers, we focus a lot on the afterlife. So no matter which stream the packaging will end up to, For example, in the States or in some country or city where you have the composting facility, or even at your home, you have a home composter, which we have as well, it will be compost and you can use it as a natural fertilizer, or you can compost with your soil. And then after, if it's in the landfill, of course, it will be biodegradable. And no matter which stream that it ends up, we make sure that there is no more harmful residues left over in the nature or in our environment.
And so that's because on your website, you use the term no trace.
Yes.
That's what you're referring to.
Yes. I think also regarding no trace is also how we educate the consumer. We want to bring a reverse thinking. Nowadays, when you receive a parcel, the first thing first, you unpack it, is send it to the trash bin.
Yeah.
But we want to say the no trace is also a reverse thinking and also a different behavior change, that instead of sending to the landfill or sending to the trash bin as the first point at your home, what you could do is like look at the packaging and there's some wordings and tell you, oh, this is different from a plastic. This is water soluble. You can make it invisible now, make it no trace on earth. So you just prepare a bowl, prepare hot water, and put your packaging inside the bowl and just pour boiling water and dissolve it. That's no trace is not only about like leaving no trace on earth, but also the behavioral change of a consumer.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that the behavioral change is more important than the product?
I totally agree. I think it has to be joint forces. And that's why we emphasize a lot. We are not only providing a packaging to the companies, but also the education to the brands and the consumers. Because even though there is a great product in the market, but there is no one embrace it, there is no one understand it, is for us is also useless. So we emphasize a lot on educating the brands and consumer. When they receive the packaging, they know how to dispose of it correctly, but not like just send it to the trash bin again. If in this case, there is no difference between a plastic bag or our bags. So we hope that by promoting or providing an alternative, people will understand that now we have a choice to make the packaging better in a better way.
And I personally believe education is the most important aspect for this broad term of sustainability. Because as you say, people, first of all, need to understand what the problem is. That's the first thing, or where the challenges are with the environment. And then from there, education in terms of here's the solutions, or here's some solutions, or here's some ideas. So I completely agree with you. Education is the most important part. Would you say that this educational component is actually the most challenging aspect of your work, or is there something else that's more challenging?
I think educational component is one of the biggest challenge when we are coming into sustainability field. I'm not only talking about invisible bag, but also other sustainable alternative or products. Second thing is, of course, the company, are they taking it as a priority? But when you come back, it's also a part of the education. Are people taking sustainable option as a priority and a must when it comes to procurement? Let's say in a company, comes to the fashion industry, from the materials, from the garment fabrics to the packaging to the last mile sending to the customer, have they ever infused sustainability in every procurement process? Now, if the employee already have that education and have that awareness, they will definitely bring that mindset into their workforce. But if they don't have that education, or they don't have that awareness, or they just sit in to fill up that job, they might not bring the sustainability as a priority or trying to push it. So that's why we think that this is very, very important when we're trying to promote sustainability, no matter a plastic-free living, sustainable business. It always comes to the first priority and the most important thing. If this is already infused in or imprinted in everybody's mindset, then it is easier for us, no matter what we talk about sustainability, it will be easier to promote.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to me, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it's interesting that you even have to educate people, because at least I mean, I've had the Sustainability Champions podcast now for about 4 years, let's say, and it's so obvious to me about the kind of the negative effects that single-use plastic has, and like you say, you see it everywhere. And so to me, it's so obvious now that it's even hard to picture that someone may not even think about it. But it sounds like you still have this education to perform, and people, I guess, based on what you're saying, are not 100% aware that standard conventional single-use plastic bags are harmful to the environment. Is that true?
Totally, yeah, it's true. I think the awareness is that people knows, oh yeah, it has been living in decades, it will leave microplastic, it will endangering the human's health. We have even research showing, scientific research to prove that microplastic can be found in our body, and it will lead some mental health issue. People are aware of that, but the problem is the behavioral change. Are people willing to make that change? When we comes to talk to companies, especially those international global company, they will always come to the conclusion, okay, why would I change it if it's more expensive? Okay, I know that plastic is bad, but it's more expensive. I don't want to change. Of course, there is a lot of rejection during the journey when we're promoting sustainability. But we also see that the positive side is some brand will see this as is a must. They will see this as an investment, because they know that today, if they invest into it, they lead the trend, more people using it, then the price will come down. It's same as the first smartphone come into the market. It was very expensive, not many people using it. But today, everyone have it because it becomes more mature. We have been promoting it, people adapt to it, people get used to it. I think this is part of the journey when we promote sustainable packaging or any sustainable materials.
And so would you say it's harder to educate? This part about the education really interests me, because clearly this is where it seems to me, based on what you're saying, this is the biggest hurdle, and where we really need to spend the most amount of time. So would you say that it's more challenging to educate your clients, who sound like they're other businesses, like you said, they're fashion, logistics, e-commerce companies, or is it more challenging to educate and, I suppose, convince the end user, meaning the person who ends up buying from the fashion company and receives a product in an invisible bag? Which side is more challenging, or are they totally different?
I always take it when we go for educational tours, talking to students. When we come to consumers, we thought that we have a choice, but actually we don't have a choice. Given an example, when we go to supermarket, we can choose different products from different countries on the rack, but actually who chooses it? Is the supermarket choose it for us?
Yeah.
So end users, they know that they have to get an option or choice. But at the end of the day, the most difficult part is talking to the business who make the choice for the end users. When you choose the product that is more sustainable for the consumer, they have a choice, they will use it. They will know that, oh, this is invisible bag, oh, this is water soluble, I can dissolve it. But the first layer that we have to come across with is the business who, at the end, who made the choice for their users. So there is some company, of course, they have many different reasons to reject it in terms of the cost, in terms of the operation, they need to train the staff. But when it comes to positive side, there is some company telling us that it's a no-brainer. We have to change it. We need to see an investment. I recall there is a company that we talked to in the States. They are doing different branding for companies, no matter skincare brand, fashion brand. They say either you be a pioneer, either you be a follower. So if you want to lead the trend, you have to be a pioneer, you have to be the leader. So, and they also say that there is another company based in Hong Kong. They are doing sustainable shoes, vegan shoes. They say one thing: sustainability is like a fitness journey. You can't build up your six-pack in one day, just do 30 sit-ups. Once you engage into the fitness journey, you have to do it every day. To build up the muscle, to build up your six-pack. Same as sustainable journey is, you can't just change vegan in day one. You have to get a process. And this is how we've embraced this brand to believe in us, to believe the packaging, that it will change the future.
It's certainly a journey, and it's very much a marathon. It's something that you commit to really for a lifetime. And another thought, I would think that, you know, from the point of view of why would a business want to move forward with using invisible bags, I think especially because a lot of these, where the bags are being used, I mean, again, if we think about fashion, logistics, e-commerce, I mean, these are media rather, or channels where the end consumer will see the packaging at the end of the day. And so it's an opportunity for your client and customers, the businesses, to demonstrate their commitment to the environment and how they actually think about, you know, sustainability and just in general, what's important to them and to their customers. And it's really a way to show, you know, to be consistent with their branding, because if sustainability is important to them, but they're still sending their products in regular plastic bags, that's not consistent. And this is such a great marketing opportunity and a great branding exercise for them to show we care and we're doing something about it.
Yeah, totally agree. I would love to take this opportunity to share some real life scenario or case study. There is exactly what you said, is a great opportunity for people to leverage on that, to talk about sustainability and also enhance the whole branding towards the sustainability or the green side. So nowadays, especially during the pandemic, you can't avoid shop online. I'm sure every one of you have been engaging with online shopping, e-commerce. And how does invisible bag play a role into the logistics or e-commerce? There is a global skincare brand. So they make sustainability in a must in their online store. So they default the packaging material will be the eco one. So they have been doing a lot of promotion and also materials, communication to their end user to tell people, now you don't need a luxurious packaging when you shop online, because the end of the day, the most important thing is the products that you buy. So why don't we take a balance? We give you the packaging that protect the goods to make sure when you unbox it, your products are safe, because it's a skincare brand. It means that there is a glass bottles, there is different liquids. But meanwhile, you can protect the environment. So what they do is when they shop online, at the last option in the shopping cart, they default the packaging material will be the eco one. So no branded, no coated craft paper box, which already easier for recycling. They make sure to protect the goods without any plastic bubble wrap, but honeycomb paper. So at the end of the day, you can also easier go for the recycling system. They don't use any plastic poly bag, but using invisible bag or the water-soluble bag to wrap the goods. So to make sure that the goods wouldn't be like going around in the boxes, to pack them safely. First, people can unbox it safely. They reduce the unnecessary packaging with the minimal protective one. They create less waste and a greener shopping experience for the consumers. So I think this is a great showcase not only for this brand, but also other brands that they understand it. Yes, we need to create a better shopping experience to the consumer. Not only talk about how fast you could deliver the goods, but also when they unbox it, the most important thing, again, is the products that you buy. And you make sure that is protected well to arrive at your doorstep. But also, we need to know that we can do something better to the environment. So not using excessive packaging, plastic packaging, that at the end of the day, it ends up in the landfill for decades with the microplastics.
I think you're absolutely right. This is going back to what we're both saying the same similar thing here, is that, yeah, the end user experience, it really makes a difference. I remember I've received products in the past that are packaged in a similar way to what you've described. You know, it's just a very clean, simple box without any plastic tape, because that's another thing, plastic tape. And then, yeah, the honeycomb paper, which instead of plastic bubble wrap, it works just as well. And I don't know, as you're doing this, you realize, especially if the company chooses to write a little bit about the packaging, just to tell that story, it just makes it so much more satisfying for the people who care. You know, it's one of those things where if I care about packaging, which I do, I notice and I think, wow, this company's really, well, they're really thinking it through a lot, and it shows. And for the people who don't care, it doesn't make a difference. You know, either way, it doesn't make a difference for them. As long as, like you said, the product is delivered safely and it's not broken, then what difference does it make? So, yeah, it's, you know, I think it's extremely effective. What I wanted to ask, and if you have other real life case studies, I'd love to hear it. But one thing I'm curious, as you were describing this packaging, with your material, are you able to create different kinds of plastic, or is it basically just one? And I'm using plastic with quotation marks, but is it with, or is it just basically one type of invisible bag? So, like, for instance, would you be able to create like a plastic style box, for instance, that would also work in a similar way?
Cool. Actually, for the past 3 years, we have been engaged with different research and development. We're trying to use this material to develop other applications, because currently we come with a theme. For example, we still call it as a plastic bag because that's the general terms, even though it's a biodegradable and not the conventional one. Currently, it's still a theme that is soft. So we develop mostly is bag. And so that's why we call invisible bag. But then more we engage with the brands and get in touch with different industry, they will say, oh, what if I'm doing jewelry? I would need a box. And people will not care about the box because they care about the jewelry. But can I have an eco-friendly one? Yes, we have been trying to develop other the shape, for example, heart shape, a box shape, but it will take quite a long time to develop to make sure that it's durable. We are still engaging into that. But meanwhile, actually at Invisible Company, we have developed other sustainable materials rather than only invisible bag, which is water soluble. We know that in the pandemic, there is one thing that you can't avoid is food. But when it comes to food, a lot of them is pre-packed, no matter locally produced or in-product products. So it also leads us to think generally mostly a plastic packaging. Some of them are recyclable, some of them are multi-layer coated, so you can't recycle it. So we want to develop something that is not water soluble, but still have the DNA with plastic free. It's food grade, compostable, and biodegradable material in the future. Hopefully we can have a good news announced in the market next year.
That would be amazing. Yeah, I mean, good luck. It sounds like quite a challenge. Yeah, I think food is such a big opportunity because most food is prepackaged. I mean, yeah, except for fruits and vegetables, really everything else typically is, yeah, it has some form of plastic associated with it. I think the most important, I would imagine that, going back to this point of education and explaining about the end of life for the bag or the plastic material, shall we say, it seems to me that the minimum, like your minimum criteria in terms of whether or not the bag is working well or the material is working well is if it's discarded in a way that's not correct. So if it ends up in the environment, or in the ocean or on the side of the road, for instance, will it biodegrade? To me, if I were in your shoes and thinking about, what would a successful material look like, it would be in a couple weeks or whatever time period, this material completely disappears without harming anything. Is that how you're approaching it, or how do you think about it?
We try to avoid any greenwashing. We also trying to make all our information transparent for brands and users. So at the end of the day, if they receive the packaging, they go to our website, they will see all the information, but not just telling you, okay, this is water soluble, this is biodegradable, that's it. We don't do it like this. We do even further steps. So we explain what is the material, where you can find the material, how does it work for landfill biodegradable. So we have done all the tests to make sure that this is true set. But apart from that, we didn't advertise much and we didn't mention too much is because it's done by a university. Actually, we have been working at a university in Hong Kong. They have been testing different materials in the market that you could find so-called as degradable or biodegradable. So they found 14 different materials, including the conventional plastic one and also invisible bag. So they made a small sample. They put it on the sea surface in Hong Kong. So around 28 days testing. All the other materials has no reaction in the sea. So it means that if unfortunately discarded in a wrong way and ended up in the environment, such as in the ocean, those plastic or those conventional ones wouldn't react or wouldn't degrade. So that's why people are aware of the plastic pollution in the sea environment. But while invisible bag, after a couple of days, it starts to build up some algae. It means that it has some reaction with the microorganism in the sea because there is a lot. And then in that 28 days time frame, at the end, it just totally dissolves and I don't say that it's disappear. I would say it's really degrade. But we are still working for looking for different testing to more educational and to make sure that to tell people this is at the end, it will be marine degradable. But we are still running this kind of research and test.
Very cool. And the companies that you are working with who are actually purchasing and using invisible bag, first of all, are they all over the world or are you focused in one place?
Yeah, we are at the beginning, we are a Hong Kong company. We're focusing a lot of the community. Instead of we said, okay, you need to buy the products with a large quantity. We realize that there are so many small brands or owners that they probably just do their own accessories, their own clothing brand. They probably just have 200 clothing in a year time as a spare project. They are really aware of the sustainability, but they don't have a choice. They say, oh, I can't go for this kind of sustainable packaging because they always require a large quantity for production. At the end, if I can't use it, it becomes a wastage. So we said, okay, let us help you. So Invisible Bag right now, we help a lot of different small brands in Hong Kong that they could just purchase online with 200 pieces to pack their garment, to ship their products in our mailer online to different places. And then after this community is built, actually now it's not only in Hong Kong. We have it in the United States, we have in Europe, we have in Colombia, we have in Brazil, we have Portugal, we have UK, we have France, and even we have also for sure in Asia like Taiwan and Japan and Korea, Singapore, Malaysia. So I would say that the community is getting bigger. More people are aware of that. But when it comes to talking to some big brand, they will tell you, okay, in 1 year, just this item single unit, we produce 10 million pieces a year. But what we are doing until 3 years, we have around 3 to 4 million invisible bags are already replaced with the conventional plastic. Compared with those big brands, we still have a long journey to go. We still need more players to come into play to make a change. So I would say that, yeah, it's a great start. We have a different location, but we still have a very long and hard work to do.
Well, as an entrepreneur, I would imagine, first of all, really cool that you're, that you have such a global and international clientele. But as an entrepreneur, I mean, yeah, it is a lot of work, but at the same time, what an opportunity, right? This is such a great opportunity for you as a business owner to make a huge impact, and at the same time, yeah, grow a business that does a lot of good for the world.
Yes, I think that's not our passion. This is definitely a mission. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, especially in Hong Kong, maybe it's quite different from the States or in European country. We are moving forward towards sustainability, but it's still a little bit left behind in terms of the infrastructure, in terms of the education. For example, the recycling program is just launched 2-3 years ago in Hong Kong that is touching the community. Before that, people are not really aware of recycling. But these days, the government push a lot and trying to ban some single-use plastic, but it's still comparing with the States or even countries next to us, like in Taiwan or Japan, is still far behind. So when we know that we need to promote invisible bag, this is just a catalyst. More we have to do is the education. For example, we started our business because of the high cleanup. So what we do is we still try our best. It's like every month or from time to time, we organize some high cleanup through the community that we know from Instagram or social media platform. And also on our side, every weekend, we still go for hiking. We will definitely bring a plastic bag or reuse some packaging to pick up the trash. We know that by taking action, even you don't have to say it, you influence the other people. So some people might not every time going for camping or hiking, they will picking up others people's trash, but at least they imprint in their mind, oh, I have to take the litter back home. I have to clean up the trail. And that is already one of the action that we could make a change. And that how I feel like, okay, I have a mission to influence more people. And so I feel satisfied, but I still know that there is a long journey to go and there is still a lot of work to impact and influence the others.
Yeah, it is a long journey, and especially with something like single-use plastic. I mean, there's so much of it being used every single day around the world. Yeah.
But I think the thing is people are aware of the issue. They know that plastic is bad. They know that we need to stop it. But a lot of people, when we engage the conversation with, they don't know there is an alternative. Just giving an example, in our daily lives, we are vegan. We are very eco-conscious. People will say, oh, we know that eating meat, for example, beef, it will create a lot of carbon footprint. Oh, but I don't want to become a vegan. I don't want to try. But sometimes we say, okay, instead of saying you should be a vegan or vegetarian, we should say that, okay, vegan dishes can be tasty. Or we tell people, oh, you can actually use this or use that to make appealing or appetizing dish. Or on the other hand, we say, okay, cotton bud is still made of plastic. It's bad, but we can't avoid it. Some people will still need to use it. So is there any other alternative? We can tell people that, oh, there is some reusable cotton bud that you can use up to 1,000 times. You can wash it. We need to tell people that the problem is there, but we always come with a solutions. Then people will start to, oh, it's not that difficult. So let's make a change together. We should have an approach in this way, instead of telling people you should stop it, don't use it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think demonstrating easy alternatives, and this is going back to what you were talking about earlier with behavior change. That's really the key. And like we were talking about earlier, this is very much a marathon, and so just to say overnight, stop eating meat, stop doing all of these things, and you have to be this way, I think a lot of people don't like that. And instead, if you say, like you were saying, why don't you just try one vegan dish and see if you like it, or just incorporate more of it into your meal. It's a process, and you have to. I think it's much more effective if people do it slowly over time, rather than jump in and change everything in their life overnight, because it's very difficult to maintain that kind of new habit for the long term.
Exactly. And I think one more life scenario is there's a company in Hong Kong, probably a lot of people who already know it, is they have an online store. It's a flight company. They have an online store, especially during the pandemic, people couldn't fly. So they, instead of using the miles to redeem the flight ticket, you can use the miles, or you can use cash to buy some products on their website with a better price. What they said that because now there's no flight, they don't say, okay, I reduce the carbon footprint by or the carbon emission. What they do is they infuse this, incorporate the sustainability angle into their online store. All the package, as long as it fits with our mailers, they will deliver in their invisible mailer. So it's not going to be the full stop. What they do extra, they try in every platform, no matter to the staff or to the end user, they tell people that we have already switched to a sustainable packaging. And when the end user receives that parcel that delivered at their doorstep, when they unpack it, they will receive a card, of course, saying thank you for purchasing, but also you can scan a QR code and it will land you to the landing page with a video and telling you how to dissolve the packaging and why we switched this packaging. This is also back to the point, is education. Because it's not only helping the customer to receive another sustainable packaging, but also with a message to tell you that how to dissolve it. Otherwise, it just becomes another trash to sending to the landfill.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think these are small things that can make a really big difference. Out of curiosity, when you ship the invisible bags to your customers, how do you package them?
So I would do, actually, we have been listed everything online. We also don't want to make people feel like, oh, why am I receiving plastic bag? That is definitely a no. So no matter what we are shipping to our consumer, for example, if people buying our garment bag or mailer bag, is also shipped inside our mailer bag. When we receive, or some people don't be surprised that if you receive a cookie box, even though we don't do cookies, because we reuse all the packaging that we could have. So sometimes we collect some boxes from different places, and then as long as it fits, we put inside. So we don't do like our own branded boxes because we think it's just another wastage. So we're just trying to reuse everything that we could. For example, the filling inside, we don't do any bubble wraps. So what we do, we have a water-soluble packing peanuts. So which is, it could dissolve. It could be just a filling inside a box. Sometimes we use our own water-soluble packing peanuts. Sometimes we just use newspaper or magazine to fit up in the box, in the parcel when we ship international shipment. When it comes to the tapes, that people are not aware of that. Actually, plastic tapes is also a huge trash. So what we do is we use paper tapes. So easier for recycling when you finish the paper box. And at any single element, we try all our bags to reduce the waste as much as we could and not to have the excessive packaging.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And that's what we were talking about earlier. I mean, these are the kind of things where, your customers can see that you're really living your brand and it's very consistent. And I think that, I would imagine, if I were buying bags from you, if I had a fashion business and I wanted to buy garment bags and I received, like you said, a box of 200 bags in a cookie box, that is used. I mean, you know, I wouldn't expect that, but at the same time, especially if you left a little note in there saying, hey, this is we're just reusing what we have to avoid wastage. You know, I would think that's so cool. What a creative thing to do. And I don't know, it's almost even more personal because you found this box to use rather than just using one of the many, you know, branded boxes that you would otherwise create.
Exactly. I think a lot of people, of course, they focus a lot of the branding. We understood that branding is important.
Yeah.
But for us, we also want to take it as a balance. That's why when we comes to shipping orders, we said, okay, there is one thing that we are not going to do any branded boxes because I totally think that this is not necessary. And no matter what in your daily life, you would definitely engage some delivery boxes. Why don't I just reuse it? So sometimes it could be a cookie box. Sometimes it could be any just a pure paper box. Sometimes we found it somewhere or people give it to us. It's like, oh, we have some leftover boxes. Why don't you use it? I said, okay, great fit. And if it's too big, I just cut it off. And the leftover paper, I just go and recycle it. So different clients, every time they will receive different boxes. And so we'll tell them that, yeah, we reuse all the materials as we could. So just don't be surprised. And especially when you receive it, please help us to recycle, to eliminate the carbon footprint as well. So we're trying to have the sustainability angle in every of the aspect.
And just another side benefit of that is you end up saving maybe a little bit of money because you're not buying branded boxes. So, I mean, there's also a business case for it. You know, you're just using what you already have, which is just one less expense that you can now avoid.
Yeah, exactly. And I do believe that by taking that action at the beginning, maybe some people might not understand it, but step by step, people will understand why you would choose that road to go with sustainability, and they will understand that, yeah, actually we don't need a branded boxes because it comes to another things that we just mentioned earlier. What you need is the product inside, not the outside. And of course, the angle that we take is the afterlife and not to be harmful to the environment. So I think everything when it comes to play, that's called sustainability.
Absolutely. Would you say that your work makes you optimistic about the future of the environment?
Sometimes, of course, I will have a doubt of what I'm doing. Can I really change the world? In Hong Kong, we have 7 million people. Can I really change 7 million people behavior? This is too optimistic. Sometimes I will have the rejection. But when we come to talk to some students from primary school, high schools, and even talk to companies or even some end users, they would just inbox us. It's like, so cool, I received invisible bag finally, and I really touch it, I feel it, and I try to dissolve it, I film a video and I share with my friend, this is a great product. That gives me a feel that, yes, I think people are moving forwards, and I know that is not like in a day one people would change themselves, but is a fitness journey. You just make the step one and you will go along with the journey.
Yeah, that I agree. But I imagine getting those videos, getting those emails that's probably reminds you why you started this, and it's great to get that kind of feedback. So if someone wanted to learn more about the Invisible Company or purchase some Invisible bags because they're starting a business or they have a business that where they're shipping things, where's the best place to go and learn more about it?
So right now, people can visit our official website, which is www.invisible-company.com. So now we ship worldwide. Free shipping is in the States, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and other Asian countries. But meanwhile, we do all the international shipping as well. People, there is no minimum order quantity. They can buy just like 200 pieces of the garment bag, or even one invisible pool bag for your dogs is also free shipping. Of course, people could learn more about our educational information on all our social media channels, including Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And on all those socials, if you just look up Invisible Company, will it come up?
So people just have to search Invisible Company _ on Instagram and you will find our page.
Excellent. Well, Devana, thank you so much for your time and for going through this. I love what you're doing. I love your outlook and approach to it. And it's very inspiring to hear how much effort and time you're putting into the education piece, because as we were talking about, that's ultimately the most important aspect, I think, for the long term of sustainability. And of course, the product that you're working on is amazing because it works, and it's tackling a huge environmental challenge. So best of luck with all of your research and the next steps. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing how this progresses as you keep going.
Thank you so much. Even we are far away apart, we are based in Hong Kong, but we know that we are all join forces and make a change together.
That's right. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
GlobeChain is the largest and fastest growing ESG reuse marketplace that helps companies become more sustainable, save money, and achieve their ESG and SDG targets. GlobeChain connects companies from the construction, retail, hospitality, and office sectors with nonprofits, small businesses, and people to redistribute unneeded items, reducing waste from going to landfill. From fixtures and fittings going to thrift stores and being upcycled by fashion students, to construction material being reused to help build schools, items are requested super quickly and help generate impact to local communities. So far, GlobeChain has diverted over 58 million kilograms of items from landfill, and they've helped over 50 million people across the world, saving them 350 million pounds through reuse. Check them out at globechain.com.